Hi everyone and welcome to episode 37 of the ITSM Crowd. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about change management. So in our last episode we talked about change management in a DevOps world, but today we're going to be looking at change management from a different perspective and just revisiting the language that we use around change and whether we can actually see something positive in change rather than looking at it as something that we should be frightened of and that's going to break the way we work. So the first thing I'm going to do is ask our group to introduce themselves. So if we can start please with James.
Yeah, sure. Hi there. James Gander, independent consultant, working out of Auckland, but covering anywhere that'll take me. I focus mainly on the service management side of things, but I dabble around the DevOps and anything else that's of interest, really. Keeping myself busy and helping out other organisations around the world as and when they've got something for me to do.
Thank you very much. And behind James, you can see the Lean Principles poster. And Karen, if you want to say hello.
Hi everyone, Karen Ferris, based out of Melbourne, Australia. Director at Macanta Consulting. We're a service management and an organisational change management consultancy business. Finding at the moment that the organisational change, people transition side of the world is quite busy in comparison to service management. But they do go hand in hand, so we are getting a lot of work in that sphere as well. But yeah, I think interesting times afoot for our industry at the moment.
Definitely. And behind Karen, you can see Karen's Kanban, which we like to watch on these Hangouts. And Steve, if you want to introduce yourself, please.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Yeah, Steve Morgan here. I'm saying good morning because I'm based out of London in the UK. I run a service management consulting company called Cinead IT. We specialise in IT service management process, tool selection, IT governance, more recently also around multi-vendor operating models as well. So lots of interest in SIAM, and I was involved in the development of some of the recent SIAM foundation material with Claire.
Wonderful, thank you. And behind Steve, you can see SIAM Foundation certificate. Do you know what number it is, Steve?
Oh, hang on, I'll have a quick look.
Digits.
Oh, has it got a number? I can't see the number on it, Claire, I'm afraid.
No, one of the first people in the world to be SIAM certified anyway. So that's our panel. And what I thought it'd be nice to do today is, before we get into our topic, just get a little world update, because we've got New Zealand, Australia and the UK represented on the panel. So I thought it'd be nice to just hear a little bit about what's hot, I guess, and what's not in each of the geographies. So James, maybe you can tell me a little bit about the hot topics in New Zealand at the moment.
Yeah, well, the one thing that isn't hot at the moment is the weather. But we're getting our fair share of water at the moment. Sorry, Karen, I didn't mean to make you giggle. Topics-wise, what am I working on? In the area that I work in, there's an interest in using some of the DevOps principles in organizations that maybe you wouldn't think to be DevOps users, so mainly the traditional IT shops, but they want to use some of that lean thinking, getting the culture right, sharing knowledge, creating virtual teams to help drive improvements. Got some clients who are looking to make better, I was going to say frameworks, but I'm not sure if that's the right word, but take some of the best bits out of multiple frameworks and methodologies to create something that's going to suit them better, rather than just saying we're going to use ITIL or we're going to go agile. They're now starting to be a little bit more picky and wanting to get the best bits of everything that's out there, which I think is really encouraging. It's really interesting, because working with April Allen on one where it's all centered around KCS, but we're pulling the best bits out of Standard Plus Case, ITIL, the DevOps principles, Lean IT. It's really interesting. It's starting to change now from we want to do ITIL to we want to work better.
And what sort of results are people hoping to see from that?
Sorry, say again?
What sort of results are the companies hoping to see from that?
So one of the clients is a managed service provider, and they just want to be able to demonstrate that they can deliver what customers want when they want it. And that includes being able to foresee any issues and fix them before the client notices them, and try and do a little bit of self-healing of the IT that's being provided by them. So, but I think that's mainly what a lot of them want. They just want to be able to do more, do it quicker, spend less money and time doing it.
Yeah, that seems fair. I'm just going to check, Sab. Are you okay? Okay, looks like Bassab can't hear us. I did forget to mention as well at the start that the panel today will answer questions. If you've got questions, you can put them on Twitter with the hashtag ITSM Crowd, and we will pick those up. We are keeping an eye on that as we talk. So, Karen, if you can give us an update on the Australia market at the moment. You mentioned OCM is a popular topic.
Yeah, it's an interesting comparison to what James has just talked about, and I guess it depends what industries you're working in or alongside. I'm doing a lot of work in government organisations at the moment, and they're doing the bright new shiny thing. You know, let's do lean, we did ITIL, let's get rid of that, let's do agile, let's do lean, let's do scaled, let's do, and not doing any of it in the right way. They're sort of grasping on to, we need to do something because industry is telling us we need to, and really struggling with it. And the language in the organisation is totally confused. And the organisation I'm working in at the moment, you'll hear people go, oh, when I say agile, it's capital A. When I say agile, it's little a. And you just see people looking like, what are they talking about? So there's a lot of that going on from a government perspective. But as you said, Claire, I said earlier about organisational change, I still get a sense organisations are still starting to realise that, you know, it's people. And unless we address that side of change, things aren't really going to work. But they're still not grasping what that really means. And there's a lot of, you know, change management or organisational change management frameworks out there that, you know, say prepare for change, management change, reinforce change. But we're in a very different environment now that there isn't like stop, start anymore. You've got initiatives that are starting halfway through, being reprioritized, whatever. And, you know, my take is that traditional change management needs to take a look at itself because, and I don't know if you guys know Kurt Lewin, who back in whenever, came up with the idea of, you know, for change, it was unfreeze your current situation, transition, so whatever you need to do, and then freeze it again, so embed it into the organisation. And it's like, well, that doesn't, and that Kurt Lewin has underpinned probably most of the organisational change management frameworks out there today. They're all sort of based on that, and that's not going to work anymore.
Yeah.
So there's a big rethink coming.
We will come back to that, Karen. I'm just going to come to Steve and get an update on the UK market.
So I am seeing lots of, a little bit like James and Karen, really. A lot of badge collecting along the way. So, you know, we're doing DevOps. No, we're not. We're doing Lean. No, we're doing ITIL. No, and you know, we used to really criticize organizations that said that they were doing ITIL. They were going to be ITIL compliant. Nowadays, we've just got a lot more choice of frameworks, but what's missing, I think, is an acknowledgement that these frameworks are ingredients in the recipe. They're not the recipe. Lots of work I'm doing at the moment around IT operating model, and particularly multi-vendor operating models. There's almost a real great example. One particular client has said, we're going to do our SIAM project, and then we're going to do our DevOps project. And I said, well, no, you need to do your IT operating model project that incorporates those factors, and then you'll get the outcome that you're looking for at the end. You don't change it once and then suddenly change it again, almost not think about the consequences of the impact that would have upon the people. But here, the outlook here continues to be lots of interest in SIAM and multi-vendor operating models. Lots of movement, a little bit like James said, in the third-party service provider, managed service provider sector. I think there's a recognition in that area that they really need to up their game. They can't continue to deliver commodity services. They need to integrate into the overarching operating model. So, those are the sort of two main features of the things that I'm seeing right now, as well as the usual underlying stuff like how do we make incident management better, which you'd hope might go away one day, but is still a recurring theme.
Thank you very much. So I think that's kind of a good tee into our topic for today. So I'm going to ask Karen to introduce it. But from my perspective, there are a lot of organisations that we talk to who they've done ITIL, they're trying to do DevOps, they want to be lean, they want to be agile. And it's always felt to me that underpinning this is effective organisational change management. But quite often the language that we use around change is quite negative, and we're supposed to welcome change now, I think, is the new approach. But there's still a lot of people in organisations that don't. So maybe Karen, you can just kind of share a little bit more with us about the language around change.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been doing organisational change and people transitions for a while, and I've been as guilty as everyone else to go, oh, change is hard and people resist change. And one I heard recently was the only people that want to change is a baby with a wet nappy. So we get this continual dialogue. And there was an article on HBR that Harvard Business Review that basically said we need to change the way we talk about change. And I read it and I thought, you're absolutely right. Because if we start saying, oh, change is hard and people will resist change, it's like we're setting ourselves already up to failure. And when it doesn't work out, we can go, oh, we told you so. We told you it was hard and people were going to resist it and people are complicated. And at the end of the day, we've all been changing and evolving and getting new skills and working out how to work in different environments since we were born. So what's different now? And, I don't think it's a conversation about change is hard. Yes, there's an effort in organisational change, but I think if you do it right, people don't want to be told that they have to change without a reason. So if people understand the reason for change and the benefits it will bring, they'll get on board. It really isn't as hard as we make it. And I think we just are painting at the moment such a negative picture about people change, organisational change, that and then that perpetuates through every level of the organisation. So everyone's going, oh, it's all too hard. Let's not bother about it. So, yeah, let's stop that negative language.
Okay. Because I've been reading quite a lot of things recently about projects and changes, and there are some quite frightening statistics about the number of certainly IT projects that fail or don't completely deliver the results, which would seem to suggest that change is actually quite hard. And is it part of the approach, do you think, that we have set ourselves up to fail, or do we not articulate what we're trying to do correctly? You know, how can we be more successful?
Do you want me to talk about the statistic about 70% of projects fail?
Yeah.
Okay. So I love this one because I'm as guilty as everyone else, and it's been quoted for donkey's years. 70% of projects fail. And a lot of big names behind that claim. So anyone who's interested, I recommend a paper by a guy called Mark Hughes. Let me just check, Mark Hughes. That he was from Brighton Business School, and he investigated where did this claim that 70% of projects fail come from. And as he digged and did the research, there's loads of people that have claimed it, Blanchard and all sorts, HBR have quoted it. There's basically no scientific research behind it. So, for example, Agutter in 2008 is quoted as, from years of study, I estimate that. Hammer and Shampoo were one of the first ones in 1993. It says, our unscientific estimate is that. So there's no science behind the 70%. However, if it was true and 70% of every project failed, no organisation would still be in business. Yeah? So it can't be true, you know. If an organisation said, oh yeah, only a third of our projects ever work, they're going to be out of business. So my argument with that statistic is that the key is what defines success. Mm-hmm. So if success is on time, on budget, and we delivered the functionality, the project can tick the box, we delivered. So the stat is wrong. However, if you then say, well, real success is return on investment, value on investment, user adoption, customer experience, satisfaction, benefits realization, add all those things on that for me define what a project success is, then I would argue that 70% probably do fail.
It's what's the saying about 95% of statistics being absolute nonsense? It's
73.1% of statistics are made up on the spot.
Absolutely.
But yeah. I would agree with Karen in terms of project pass-fail criteria and what constitutes success and what doesn't. I'm working at the moment with, funnily enough, a big consulting company who should probably know this stuff themselves. But we're talking about end user request portal. Yeah, so how do you get end users to engage with IT through self-service or some other means that is cheaper than them phoning the desk? Is basically the issue we're trying to fix. Mm-hmm. And you can put all kinds of technology in place, you can build service catalogs and so on, but it is not a case of build it and they will come. It is absolutely a case of adoption, as Karen mentioned. And the only way to do that isn't to inflict the solution upon the end users, but to have them engaged at the outset in not only defining the problem, but then the requirements and ultimately the solution. And I've always tried to stick by that approach of don't try and inflict the outcome of the project on the people that ultimately are going to be using it. You've got to involve them right at the very outset to ensure the project is influenced quite significantly by those people. Otherwise, we just end up, this will be a phrase that's familiar to you, Claire, after the rant conversation I had with you on the phone yesterday, but otherwise we end up fixing problems that nobody has. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we have fantastically successful projects, but the end users are still left shrugging their shoulders as, well, what was all that about? It has solved a problem, but it's not a problem we have.
It's like the iPhone X.
And that's a very good point. And one of the other perspectives I'll take is, again, new shiny stuff. We're suddenly hearing people both in ITSM and the organizational change space talk about human-centric design and user-centric design. And I'm going, seriously? Have we always designed things without the end user being considered? Well, okay, obviously we have, because now this is new. You know, so I agree with what's been said. It's involvement up front. It's, you know, testing, simulations, prototyping, that the person that we're delivering to gets to say yay or nay, this is going to meet my needs or not. And it frightens me that we're now talking in a language that infers that we never ever did that.
Stuart Rance said, we did a hangout, it's a while back now, and Stuart Rance said that he thinks the problem with a lot of change from the IT perspective is we try and install new behaviours like it's a piece of software. So we think if we just tell everybody it's happening, you know, push it out to everybody, that suddenly this new behaviour will be adopted and people behave how we want. But I'll bring you in, James. What's your experience with this?
So a lot of the changes that I get involved in are where we're changing the way that an internal IT department is operating. And the ones where they tend to not be successful are the ones where the senior IT manager, be they going by the title of IT manager or CIO or whatever it might be, are old school techies who've moved up into that role, and they haven't got into their head that people need to be communicated with, not to, but with, from the very outset, just as you were saying. And they're the ones that I find are a real struggle, because to them, it's, if you've got to communicate, then you send an email out at the very beginning saying, this is what we're doing. Then you send another one out partway through saying, this is where we're at. And then you send another one out saying, right, we've done it now, make sure you follow it. And those are the managers who don't get it. They just won't listen. They won't understand. And you've almost got to do organizational change management on the manager before you can start doing organizational change management with the team. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm seeing most. It's a lack of understanding from the old school people.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of talk about the change in user behaviour and consumer behaviour because of the commoditisation of IT and the fact that IT is such a big part of our personal lives as well now. And I am kind of doing a mental contrast here between the way we talk about a business change or a new service or a new system, and we do use this quite negative language, but then you look at things like the launch of a new iPhone and the fact that it's actually really exciting and people can't wait to hear about it, and they'll queue around the block overnight to be the first one to have it. So maybe there is a perception issue here, and we should be selling this stuff as this is really exciting and this is going to help, rather than, oh, I'm really sorry, you've got to learn how to do this and this is going to look different. So
it's all in the marketing.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It is, because you don't get the same fanaticism when a new Android phone's released.
That's true.
But when a new iPhone's out there, it's like the second coming of the Messiah, not just a naughty boy.
Maybe we should... sorry, James, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Carry on.
No, it's all right. You go for it, because I'd run out of words then.
Maybe we should get the CIOs of our organisations to don some trainers and jeans and a black T-shirt and walk out on a stage in front of their staff once a quarter and say, I'm really excited about the next batch of change that's coming to you. It's our best change ever, and really hype it up. And I'm saying that a bit tongue-in-cheek, but it's to underline James's point, really. We don't communicate to people, we communicate at them. IT leaders aren't equipped nowadays to deal with the level of change management that we expect them to be able to do, because what we expect them to do now is keep the lights on and also be brokers in a cloud environment and manage agile and DevOps environments, which are all very different to perhaps what they're used to doing. We perhaps expect a little much from them and don't equip them appropriately to be able to to fulfill our expectations of them. But if we were to maybe nudge them gently towards the Apple model of comms, without the stage and the jeans and the black t-shirt, but that sort of concept, then perhaps the user community would feel more engaged with technology.
I think you might have hit it. No,
I think that's a great example. Sorry, I think that's a great example, and I think it is about getting people excited. It's about marketing. It's about communication. It's about saying, we heard what you're asking for, and this is what we're doing, and all the stuff that, you know, in OCM. And, you know, what fascinates me is, you know, the latest iPhone, well, this is not now the latest, but we lost the speaker jack, you know, the headphone. We lost the headphone jack, and that's now the recharge jack. And you expect everyone to go, oh, if I'm charging my phone, I now can't listen to anything. But they got over it really quickly. You know, it just, the argument sort of disappeared within days and just fizzled out. So it's like, okay, yeah, we'll accept that. We'll move on. So they really have knuckled it down, absolutely.
People adapt when the marketing's right. I think that's the principle. Karen, and I agree with you. I think what you've struck on there is a great example. You know, the Twitter sphere was up in arms the day that the headphone jack was removed from the iPhone, and look how quickly we've forgotten. And I wonder what lessons we could learn there to bring our end users and in the business along on the journey of business change in IT, because I've still got end users who are moaning about the Windows 7 upgrade from 4 years ago, and how terrible it was. So maybe there's some things that we can learn from that kind of marketing as well, and engagement. I think there's some key words, isn't there, coming out of all of this? Marketing, engagement, communicating to rather than at.
And I think one of the key things is, and I saw this on a morning show when they were talking about the fact that the headphone jack was going, etc. And but the talk that Apple go is, yes, we've done that, but we've done it for this reason, and here's the benefit to you. They're very good at that, and you go, okay, I've actually got better features or faster response, more memory, whatever it might be, because you've done that. So they're very good at saying what's in it for you. And I'm not sure we in IT at the moment are that good at doing that.
No, I challenge it's not just us in IT though, because going back to what Steve was saying, senior IT managers aren't good at the whole standing on stage in their trainers and black t-shirts and hopefully some pants as well, to extol the virtues of whatever it is we're doing. It's the way that organizations are almost coaching senior managers. How often do you go into an organization and there's leadership or management training for those who've moved into a senior role? It never happens. You've got people who have worked their way up to a certain position, and all of a sudden they're expected to be something they've never been before. And there's nothing to support them in doing that. It takes people like us who probably haven't been in that position ourselves, but we've seen enough of them to subtly coach these people into how they should do it without actually telling them how they should be doing their job. And that's, it's great from an invoicing point of view, but that's not right.
Yeah.
It should be part of the growing up in senior management into a senior management position. And that's not, or at least I've not seen that.
And I think that's a great point, James, and maybe something for another conversation, Claire. But I feel sorry for a lot of managers who, they may be trained and been coached and mentored into a management situation or leadership situation, but we're now in a world that's, changing like this. We can't actually predict what's coming. So how can a manager, how does a manager now sort of continually have to switch and change and adopt and adapt to what needs to be delivered? So I'm sort of looking at stuff at the moment, which is not new, about adaptive leadership, about how to change course quickly and have an adaptive team supporting you to do that. Because yeah, the traditional leadership of this is where we're going, here's our vision, I've got a 12-month plan, forget it. It's not there anymore.
And I think, go on, James.
Sorry, just very quickly.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that the ones I do see able to do that best are of the female persuasion.
Ooh, controversial.
Male managers don't get it easily. Female leaders find it a lot easier to do the changing direction, the bringing people with them aspect. So we need more female leaders.
Or we need to understand what the good characteristics are of those female leaders and train our male leaders to be more, perhaps more empathetic and better at communication in the way that those female leaders who exhibit those characteristics are.
Yeah,
we're just
I will catch that by saying not all females are good at it.
Oh, I think it was my catcher for some reason. Cool. All right. Well, I think that's us at the end of our time now. That has been a really interesting discussion, and one that I think I need to go away and reflect on a little bit, because there's an awful lot in there that's making me think, and I want to spend a bit more time on this. But definitely some concepts in there: how we market what we do, how we generate excitement, and not approaching change as if it's, you know, some horrific hurdle that we climb. So thank you so much to Karen for suggesting the topic and for being with us today. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, James. Thank you to everybody who's been watching as well. And we will see you in October for our next episode of the ITSM Crowd. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.